On the issue of improving the relationship between the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis, progress will only be made if it is based on fairness and trust, according to Premier Mark Brantley. The Premier of the Nevis Island Administration said he expects a follow-up meeting with Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew soon to further discuss the matters and to take them forward. At his July monthly press conference, SK Newsline queried the Premier about his expectations on the young St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party-led federal government compared to what transpired under the Team Unity administration, the three-party coalition federal government in which Brantley served as Minister of Foreign Affairs.
We want to be fair. So for us, it's not about better off or worse off necessarily. We want an open, transparent process of sharing the resources of the country. And in fact, what we had proposed during the Team Unity era was a pretty fair way, because we said, let us base it on population. So you take CBI, Citizenship by Investment. If the proceeds from Citizenship by Investment 1 year was $600 million, then Nevis would get its 24%, I think it was, 25%. St. Kitts would get its 75%. If the following year those receipts fell to $300 million, Nevis will get its 25%, St. Kitts will get its 7%. We will be worse off in the year 2 because the overall amount is less, but it will be worse off proportionally to St. Kitts. What the problem we had was that we were getting $500 and $600 million coming into the country, and Nevis was getting 40 or 50 million, and St. Kitts was getting the balance. Because when we did the analysis of the revenue stream over the course of the life of the program, recall that our analysis suggested that Nevis only got 7% of the revenue from CBI, while St. Kitts got 93%. And those numbers were never refuted. Even in the height of the political to-in and fro-in, back-in and forth-in, those numbers were never refuted. We were accused of many things. We can't spend money, we're greedy, we all kind of things, but the percentages were never disputed.
Premier Brantley was firmly of the view that the treatment of Nevis, currently under Prime Minister Dr. Drew, was one based upon respect and trust.
For us, it's not really a question of are you better off or worse off. For us, it's can we have a transparent mechanism? It allows us now better planning as well, because we can have forecasts and we can say, well, all right, we anticipate that this will be the revenue, just as we would anticipate each budget what our revenue is going to be, rather than a situation that currently exists where we are essentially dependent on St. Kitts determining what proportion of this will Nevis get. I have commended Prime Minister Drew because his approach thus far has been far more open and transparent than even the government that I was a part of. Imagine that. That I am now in opposition, but I'm getting greater transparency from a government to which I am in opposition than a government where I sat in cabinet as a senior minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs. You ask, will we be better off? Will we be worse off? I think we are already better off because there is a level of openness. There's a level of mutual respect. There's a level of dialogue that never existed. And so I credit the new Prime Minister because, in my humble opinion, thus far, he has been far more open than the Prime Minister that I sat with in the cabinet on a weekly basis, and the one that I engaged with on a weekly basis, because he was very adept at hiding information, particularly financial information, from his own cabinet.
It is understood that the task force, when activated, will address a range of matters, including administrative and constitutional issues that affect both islands as part of its duties. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
Former Prime Ministers Dr. Timothy Harris and His Right Excellent Sir Kennedy Simmons have paid tribute to former Governor General Sir Tapley Seaton, who passed away this week.
For me, Sir Tapley was one of our most distinguished sons of the soil, with whom I had the distinct honor and privilege to work very closely with in my capacity as Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our working together on so many issues gave me a greater appreciation of his incredibly huge talents, love of country, and selflessness as our nation's most senior public figure, that is, as the head of state. Sir Tapley served his country and people with distinction. His sharp intellect, fount of knowledge, deep sense of history, and clear vision of a stronger and safer path for the prosperity and security of our country made him an anchor on several critical matters that our nation faced.
Former Prime Minister and the only living national hero, the Right Excellent Sir Kennedy Simmons, said he was saddened by Sir Tapley's passing. Tapley Seton was a good man, he said. He was thoughtful, humble and caring. He had listening ear or helping hand for the people of this country, whether they be of high or low estate. He made Government House the people's house, and he was himself accessible to the ordinary citizen. That he was trustworthy and of high integrity, and was known and respected by the weak and powerful in equal measure. He described him as a scholar and one who he trusted when he served in his government as Attorney General in the 1980s and early 1990s. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis on Thursday also paid a tribute to Sir Tapley Seton. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
4 officers in the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force have been confirmed to the ranks of sergeant and corporal respectively. In a brief but meaningful ceremony on Friday morning, Commissioner of Police James Sutton presented Sergeants Kamara Phillip and Vivian Caesar and Corporals Granville Chapman and Crystal Bailey with their letters of confirmation. Commissioner Sutton thanked the officers for their excellent work and continued dedication to serving and protecting the citizens and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis. He urged them to continue maintaining a high standard of professionalism in the performance of their duties as they set an example for those under their command. The Commissioner also reminded the officers that their work significantly contributes to the fulfillment of the police force's national mandate, and as such, the manner in which they executed their assigned duties was of the highest importance. The officers expressed their appreciation at having been selected for the promotion and pledged to continue carrying out their duties to the best of their abilities. Also present to support and commend the officers were Deputy Commissioner of Police Cromwell Henry, Force Personnel Officer Clifford Govaya, Force Chaplain Erickson Cumberbatch, and Assistant Commissioner of Police Adolph Adams. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Officers of the Department of Constituency Empowerment hosted a series of pop-up tents in the 8 constituencies around St. Kitts. The pop-up tents provided an opportunity for constituency members to further interact with the department as they brought focus on environmental matters for Environmental Month. SK Newsline spoke with Shakima Halliday at the constituency number 3 pop-up tent about the purpose of the activity as well as the results of their recent community walkthrough survey.
It's geared towards Environmental Month of activities, and what we're actually doing is engaging the public to come discuss their concerns and our problems in their community as it relates to the environment and or any other issue, but particularly to the environment. Over the past 3 months, we were engaged in an observation process where the officers and support officers from each constituency, that would be 8 constituencies, were going around daily, almost all day, observing the communities, looking at the issues that they may have, environmental issues that they may have, and our personal issues if we were able to engage with our constituents at our point of observation. Some of the issues that we observed was abandoned vehicles, abandoned lots, and overgrown vegetation, littering, drainage issue, and gut-side issues.
The pop-up tent served one other purpose, said Ms. Halliday, as she explained to SKN Newsline.
One of the activities we are engaging is we have some pledge cards available that we are giving to various people in the constituency that so they can make a pledge about how they too can play or be a part of the issues that they have in their communities. So we have 2 cards, 2 paper that is. You take this one you fill as a pledge. This will keep for our records, and you will take this one and keep it at your home. Stick it on your TV, your refrigerator, somewhere where you can remember that the pledge that you made to the community.
The pop-up tent event took place over a period of 2 days to allow enough time for persons to interact with the officers of the Department of Constituency Empowerment. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean classics, and Jive music show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
The 2023-2024 school year is days away from coming to a close as stakeholders prepare for the next academic year. An old issue remains: teacher vacancies. In one recent advertisement, the Board of a Rural School listed vacancies for 23 teachers in specific subject areas, with mathematics and English leading the list. But the advertisement did not say if the positions were permanent or temporary. With many schools already facing a teacher shortage, concerns had been raised that the controversy which plagued the last wage negotiation would drive more educators to take up opportunities overseas. But Education Minister Favour Williams argues that it is unwise to assume that the vacancies are connected to teachers seeking better opportunities overseas.
I made sure that I got the physical paper from both newspapers, and when I looked at the ads, many of them indicated that they want teachers for 4 months or 8 months, which makes sense because annually 3,500 of our teachers go off on their long leave, 4 months or 8 months. And again, like clockwork, that is happening again this year.
She says the vacancies are driven by several factors, adding that strategies including the recruitment of retired teachers are already in place. To this end, an announcement will be made soon.
For those teachers who are on leave, for those teachers who have made a personal decision to leave, there are teachers who also transition from one school to another within the education sector, and there are teachers who may choose to go and work for one of the private schools. So the movement of teachers within the sector, outside of the sector, that movement is driven by many different factors. But again, having said that, our strategies that we used last year worked well. We will use those again, plus more.
Raquel Porto, TVJ News.
6:30 p.m.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Keisha Murray Charles.
And I'm Carrie Roberts. Welcome to TTT News. In our first story tonight, in 2022, Tobago's economy declined. This, according to THA Minority Leader Kelvin Morris, during his contribution to budget debate in the Tobago House of Assembly on Thursday. Mr. Morris said the Chief Secretary withheld the alarming data in his budget delivery.
Tobago's economy declined by 2%. Construction and quarrying declined by a mammoth 34.7%. Finance and real estate declined by 5.1%. And the agricultural sector declined by 9.5%, whilst the manufacturing sector declined by an alarming 16.2%. Deputy Presiding Officer, the Chief Secretary in his delivery of the budget presentation on Monday refused and or neglected to present the data I just mentioned above.
Mr. Morris described Monday's budget presentation as a fairy tale, as he noted the THA had additional resources to care for Tobago's economy.
What is even more alarming is that this administration had an increase in allocation of over $300 million in fiscal 2021. This, as far as I can recall, has been the highest allocation of any Tobago House of Assembly administration. Yet, on the watch of this Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, we had declined.
The minority leader also accused the THA administration of political victimization and the abandonment of several projects on the island. Mr. Morris said instead of fighting for Tobago, the executive has been fighting against Tobagonians.
And Muslims worldwide today celebrated Eid ul-Adha. They commemorate the 4-day feast by ritually slaughtering livestock and distributing the meat among family, friends, and the poor. Nigel Alexander visited the farm of President of the Trinidad Unified Farmers Association, Shiraz Khan, as he observes Eid ul-Adha each year. Mahalia Joseph Wharton has more.
On Eid ul-Adha, Muslims commemorate Prophet Ibrahim's devotion to Allah and his readiness to sacrifice his son Ishmael. Before he could carry out the sacrifice, God provided a ram as an offering. To remember his sacrifice, the act of Qurbani is carried out following the Eid Salah or prayers, which are performed in congregation at the nearest mosque. President of the Trinidad Unified Farmers Association, Shiraz Khan, has been observing Eid ul-Adha for as long as he can remember.
The best thing to do is to be in Saudi Arabia to perform the pilgrimage, the Hajj. But because everybody can't go there and some of us can't afford it, the next best thing to do is fast in the first 9 days of Zulhijjah and perform the sacrifice of the animal. So that is what we are here today, celebrating Ibrahim alayhi salam command to slaughter that which he loved most, which was his son. But instead of slaughtering his son, he slaughtered a sheep.
He explained why Eid ul-Adha is so significant to all Muslims.
When you slaughter the animal, you're slaughtering all your problems and looking for betterment for everybody and the whole country as a whole, the whole world.
He said doing this purifies them.
We cannot cut our nails, we cannot cut our hair and all of that. So it's a sacrifice. And this sacrifice is not like, you have to put money out. It's just a personal thing. Some of us will fast for 9 days, some will fast for 2 days, some will fast for 3 days. But we do the best we could.
The meat from the sacrificed animal is divided into 3 parts. The family retains 1/3 of the share, another third is given to relatives, friends and neighbors, and the remaining third is given to the poor and needy. Mahalia Joseph Wharton, TDT News.
First Citizens Bank has been praised by Finance Minister Colm Imbert for its growth in the banking industry, especially in the last decade. Sunalala reports.
Finance Minister Colm Imbert has lauded First Citizens Bank for its consistent growth and profitability, the latest being $734 million after taxation for fiscal 2022.
I think within the first few years of FCB, back in the 90s, I think the bank made a profit of $20 million. And that was hailed as a fantastic achievement because remember, this was 3 failed banks that somehow, 2 years later, made a profit of $20 million. Now, 30 years later.
Two of the oldest universities in the United States, Harvard and the University of North Carolina, have used race as one of the many factors to admit potential qualified students. But a group of Asian American students sued UNC and Harvard, claiming the practice denied them access to an elite education in favor of lesser qualified African American and Latino applicants. On Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court agreed, ruling 6-3 that using race as a factor violated the 14th Amendment to the Constitution and the 1964 Civil Rights Act. While opposing groups of students reacted to the ruling on the court steps, the man behind the students' lawsuits celebrated.
These obligations compel the removal of all racial and ethnic classification boxes from undergraduate and postgraduate application forms.
The incoming president of Harvard said the school is now reworking the way it admits new students while still focusing on diversity.
We will comply with the court's decision, but it does not change our values.
The U.S. president blasted the decision and called the Supreme Court an obstacle to social progress.
That is, it's done more to unravel basic rights
and basic decisions than any court in recent history. Take a look at how it's ruled on a number of issues that have been precedent for 50, 60 years sometimes.
The White House is providing legal advice and other support to help schools comply with the ruling. The reaction from Harvard students, sadness and anger.
I'm infuriated and speechless. This is just racism. It's just racism with a very thin veil. I've just met so many people from so many different backgrounds, and it would just break my heart for people in the future to lose that.
Harvard and the University of North Carolina had argued that they were using race as an admissions factor in order to create a student body that would be more sensitive to the diversity of the United States and thus create a generation of future leaders that would thus be more responsive to the challenges in the years ahead. The Supreme Court said that's a laudable goal, but it's not enough to justify violating the U.S. Constitution. Rosalind Jordan, Al Jazeera, the Supreme Court.
State legislature.
There's no respite in Mexico from the sweltering heat wave. Health authorities say 112 heat-related deaths have been recorded since March, almost 3 times as many as last year. Those working outdoors are most at risk, but they are finding ways to adapt.
I work in construction, and it's really bad. We hydrate with water and rest for 15 minutes, then we go back to work again. We do that every hour.
A high-pressure weather system called a heat dome is trapping heat and humidity over Mexico and the southern United States. The northern Mexican state of Nuevo León has been hard hit, with 64 deaths and record-high temperatures soaring to 45 degrees Celsius.
There is a fairly intense heat wave with temperatures higher than normal, higher than those recorded in recent years. The high temperatures generate changes in our bodies, especially between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. when the most intense heat waves are registered, and can cause dehydration in people.
Weather experts are warning that another heat wave is on the way. The immediate forecast for many Mexicans is finding any way they can to beat the heat. Imran Al-Khan, Al Jazeera.
It's a team effort to bring success to the St. Kitts and Nevis senior men's national team. Teamwork not only on the pitch among the players, but also the technical and backroom staff, which is essential to the team's success. Team manager Jamiro Claxton lists the members of the technical staff and their importance to the success of the team.
Yeah, we have a great staff working with the team, from technical to administrative. We have the head coach, Austin Deco Huggins, as most of us would know about. He's assisted by George Yellowman Isaac. Our goalkeeping coach is Akil Byron. Our trainer, Macefield Nisbet. Physio, Alistair James. Dr. Duana Pemberton. Equipment manager, Leroy Sweeney, and of course myself as the team manager. So we also have with us the head of delegation, Mr. Cuthbert Keynes, and he represents the SKNFA. He is the point person for the SKNFA. As manager, I coordinate all administrative duties, and I bring the administration and the technical side of things together, so to make sure that they're in sync and in unison. Technical director for the St. Kitts Nevis Football Association, Mr. Leonard Taylor, is also here with the team. As you're aware, technical directors are responsible for the development of football in their assigned country, but for this specific trip, Mr. Taylor is here to work closely with our coaches and technical staff to coordinate training sessions, coordinate scouting reports and so forth. So he plays an integral role in what we're doing as we prepare for our games. Things have been going well for the most part. Of course, it's our first time at this level, and so there are certain things that we are learning along the way. But because of the experience that we have within the staff, we've been able to adjust when needed to be, adapt when needed to be, and also we continue to learn while we grow. The backroom staff is very important for the success of any team. If you look at professional sports and all, whether the NBA, EPL, teams that have the better backroom staff are the teams that are usually successful, because there's a lot that goes on before we even reach to the pitch. There's a lot of things that needs to be put in place to ensure that the team functions properly, ensure that players and coaches are comfortable, just to ensure that things go in as planned.